Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Sofa Talk with Nono. My name is Nonhlanhla Koza. Today we have a guest. His name is ADEWALE Ajayi, also known as Bface. Welcome to the show, Bface.
Thank you, Nono, for having me here. It's such a pleasure.
You're welcome. Obviously, you're here and we want to talk about your business as a photographer and how you've come up to that business. Could you tell us a bit more about that? Straight into it.
Okay. I'm a photographer. It used to be a hobby way back in the day. Then after a while, a lot of voices and friends encouraged me and said I should do it as a profession. So, and I took it up seriously. A lot of people ask where the name Bface comes from, which is my business name. It's actually an abbreviation of a full name, which is Boniface. A lot of people don't know that such a name exists. I had a cousin whose name was Boniface, and he was a very close friend of mine. We were buddies. We made plans and dreams together, but unfortunately, he passed away in 2007. So when I went into business in 2012, I thought I would use the name in memory of him. So that's how the name came about.
That's a beautiful story.
Oh, thank you.
And it's worked out really fine because Bface is obviously, I can't imagine anybody that calls you Adewale now.
That's, a lot of people don't know me by my real name.
Yeah.
And I think because I wanted Bface to be popular. So even when people ask, what's your name? I said, just call me Bface. So a lot of people actually go with Bface, which is fine with me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay, so how did you come about starting to be a photographer? How did you get that idea? Was it like you just woke up thinking, let me be a photographer, or you just worked your way into it?
I think with most creatives, it's always something that is nipping in your mind. So I never thought years ago that I wanted to be a photographer. It never came across my mind at any point. But I wanted to be in the creative environment, entertainment industry. So I think like 6-7 years ago, I was gifted a present, which was a camera. Because I said, I want a camera. So I got the camera, started going around taking pictures. I didn't know what the buttons did and everything. So I had to read up on them, know what the buttons do. But I've always liked photography as a hobby. But I realized that most of my friends, when they're having parties, cookouts, barbecues, summer parties, they're like, come, but please bring your camera. So I always take it around. And then after a while, they're like, you love this thing, why don't you do it? And I'm like, who does that? Like, how can this do anything for me? And because it's a humbling profession, I thought, I wouldn't be able to tolerate all the insults that will come with the profession. But I read a few books, did a few studies. I graduated from the University of YouTube. So I was always on YouTube every day learning things. And but I enjoyed it. I fell in love with the art.
Yeah.
And I think I was kind of a bit, if I can say so, I was accepted by a lot of people. So, and it was from one client to the next client to the next client. And next thing I know,
You're making money.
yeah, well, the money is a
And of course, byproduct.
Yeah, I think
But
it was the passion.
it was the passion as well. I mean, honestly, you cannot be. I know that there's a lot of people that are passionate about things that don't necessarily give them enough money, but we know that in your story, is something that's ended up giving you, like, it's basically you're leaving and your family's leaving. Was the delay in starting something to do with, obviously, the way we see things as Africans, like photography, what will it do for you? Go off and be a doctor, my son, be great.
Typical. You know how that works. Most African families want you to be a professional, like you say, be an engineer, be a doctor. I had engineering background. But I came over to England and then I got a job. My first job was working in Primark for a few months. Then I got a job with an insurance company. And I worked there for 6.5 years. But I was only there to spend 6 months and get onto the ladder. And before I knew it was 1 year, 2 years, and next thing I know, 6 years went by.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a bad job, but it wasn't something that I was really enthused about. So I was kind of down, a bit depressed. It came to the point when I was thinking, is this the best that I can do? Like, is this all my life is all about? That this is what I can do? It's one of those jobs where if you're not in, somebody will replace you almost instantly. It wasn't one of those jobs where if you're not in, everything shuts down. So relevance was not really good. So whilst I was doing the job, I was going around taking pictures. I was learning, but it was hard for me to find clients. So all I could do was landscape, outdoor, city photography. It was hard to get someone to sit down and allow me to do a portrait for them. But I think persistence pays, and passion is already something that, if you're really passionate about something, you always find a way. So I could have had many reasons not to go ahead.
Yeah.
But instead, I looked at the more reasons why I should, and like you say, it pays off in the end. And I think my story should connect with a lot of people as well. That if there's something you love, you're passionate about, you would always have reasons not to do it. And there will always be voices, family and friends saying, oh, why would you be doing such a thing? We brought you up to be better than that. You see, everybody has a place in life, regardless of what your family is. There's so many people who are in IT who are still not happy, and they probably make £1,000 a day. There's so many medical doctors who are doing it and they're just paying the system. But I think passion is something that is important because it makes you excel. And where people tell you there is no way, if it is your calling, there will always be a way for you.
Do you remember a time where, you found out that, okay, this business is now, the calls started coming in, and then maybe your relatives as well start to see that, okay, this is really working out for you. Do you what happened? Can you?
Oh, definitely. I'm a very observant person, so every morning I wake up, I look through the window and I can say, okay, I project this is that. So when I started, I think one of the trickiest things that I did was I kind of isolated my family because I kind of felt they would say, why are you doing this? And you see, these voices that question you, that put a bit of the negatives in just because of the way they feel or think, those voices can end up coming inside your head and breaking you down. So I had to shut myself out and isolate myself. And then even a lot of my clients are saying, where's your page? Where can we see your work? But I wasn't confident enough. So I was always like, I don't have a page. Because I thought my work wasn't that good for me to create a page for or to open a website for. So I was like, my work is not that good. I'll open it later. Then they kept nagging me. Then one of the clients called me one day and kicked off. People are always asking me, why am I always referring you? But they can't see your work. I have to be showing them my phone, like, it took this, it took this, it took that. So after a while, and then she said something interesting. She said, there are so many guys in the market whose work are not as good as yours, but every day they're posting and sharing things. Why are you putting yourself down? So those voices worked in my favor. So I opened up my page, and then it was just crazy because the calls were actually coming. Like I was getting calls, like one call, okay, I'll call you back, and they'll call me. And I think after a while, my family started hearing about my name. They were seeing my logo. Even their friends who live in England, who maybe post a profile picture or a cover picture. Then we had BBM, BlackBerry Messenger. So they used to have the profile picture there. And they were like, oh, I saw the picture you did for this person. It's nice. And then they were like, wow, you're really doing well. Oh, wow. Then I ended up on one of the two biggest blogs in Africa at some point. And my story was documented. And they were like, wow, we're proud of you. Well done. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That sounds like a really nice story. I remember seeing your logo on, it was just like one profile after the other. And you are basically on every friend on my list is your friend. I could ask you how you've gone about that, but I think you kind of narrated how that has gone about. And I can imagine that everybody's probably ordered some pictures from you. What advice would you give an average young man that wants to start a business like that. Maybe especially for me, I always want advice to go out to the black boys. And if I'm speaking to a woman, I wanted to go out to the black woman simply because I know the challenges that we face in the diaspora. And, you know, and we leave home with advice to go and be great.
Exactly.
And part of being great is obviously being a doctor.
Exactly.
And nowadays nurse, and, you know, engineer and all that stuff. But the minimal things like, you know, opening up your own business, like photography, filmmaking, which is something that I also did, are normally things that are looked down upon. But what would you say? Let's say there's a young man out there, he wants to do photography. He wants to do, and maybe his parents have invested in him being a biologist or something, or the next astronaut.
That's a very important question, you know, and also I think we need to move out of certain stereotypes. We think certain professions are not glorifying. You know, the truth is we cannot all be engineers. We cannot all be lawyers or doctors. We need somebody to be our Uber driver, remember, and we still love and treat them with respect. We need someone to be in the kebab shop to make our dinners for us. So we need someone to shine our shoes. Everybody's role is important, but it's also important that we love and respect each other's position because we work together like it's symbiosis, you know what I mean? So I think for me, what I'll tell a young African or a young person who wants to grow in any kind of business is, first thing is you need to search yourself. Why do you want to do this thing? You know, do you have the love for it? Do you have the passion for it? For me, I'm a preacher of passion. I believe we all have a gift. But sometimes voices and families and peer pressure and influence makes us swallow those things and just try to go with the norm. We're all not going to be IT professionals. And it's not everybody who is in IT who is happy. Yeah, you could be making the money, but you might not be, you know, whatever you sacrifice, you might not be worth it in the long run. So it's good to set yourself very well. Find what you love, you know, do your research, very important. You can't just jump into the market and think people are onto you. Do your research, find out who is in the market, who are the top players, what are they doing consistently to get them there. If I get into the market, what would I be bringing into the market? Why would they choose me and leave these guys? So you need to do your research, find something in your brand that you can fine tune, learn all the things you need to learn. Because when I was learning and growing at the same time, you know what I mean? So be honest with yourself. You know, people like when I started out, a few of my very close buddies, younger ones, they kept saying that I'm such a hardworking guy, that I'm so creative, that they think is a bit undermining when they call me photographer, that they think is like an insult. I say, what do you mean? It is not an insult. There's nothing wrong in being a photographer. I'm happy and proud to be a photographer. Tell all your friends that he is a photographer. If I was anything more than this, that is where I would be. It's like having a job in Debenhams, you know, and then you're saying, I'm only doing this for now, I'm better than this. I'm sorry. At that point in your life, that is the best you could be at that point. Accept who you are. Believe in that. Carry on working and growing. And then you'll find yourself at the promised land.
I like that because he says, shut away voices, you know, and sometimes we are scared to do it because maybe the voice that's speaking in your head is none other than your mother or your father or your sister, somebody that is actually taking care of your bills and taking care of you. And if you teach yourself how to actually focus later on, they will be thanking you and they'll be congratulating you. You know, there's something I was talking about with Bface earlier about his photography and his when you carry your equipment and when he takes it off. Do you want to talk about that, Bface?
I think my passion has become an obsession, you know, which is crazy sometimes. So I think what we're saying then was how I've become such a photographer, whereby if I don't have my camera with me, I feel naked. I feel uncomfortable. So I could have my camera in here now. I could be like, hey, No, hey, Mr. Producer, Mr. Presenter, hey, come here, I want you to do this. I'm very powerful. When I have a camera with me, I'm very powerful. I'm like a god. Like, I feel I'm in charge and I make things happen. When I don't have the camera, I'm like in my hands in my pocket, like, hi, everybody, good evening, is everything okay? I can't make a sound. You know what I mean? But
You're a different person, basically, without your camera. You own this, and you're very, your power is your camera. You're born to be a photographer.
It's my passport as well.
Yeah.
And that's why I used to access places and people as well. So
yeah. Bface also explained to me at a different time that when he is working, he's got a good eye on things, and you know, that's part of his passion as a photographer. You know, and it's something that I found that was really amazing to have. You know, as a business person. You know, to get into a wedding place and notice that maybe the cake hasn't been cut before they take photographs. You know, I myself, I've been in a position where I am a photographer at an event, and I think cakes have gone without being cut. But it's a different situation with them. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming onto the show, Bface. So and it's, you know, it's totally an honor to have you here. And hope to see you another time when you come back and you're a multi-billionaire photographing, teaching them all.
Maybe when I come back, you're not going to be here anymore. You'll be somewhere in Western Virginia doing shows with Oprah. You never know. So
I wish and I hope so. I wish and I hope so. Thank you, guys. So for Talk with Nono, and Bface was here with us. You have our details, and you can contact us anytime that you want. Thank you very much.